If you will go ahead. Yep, I see you started the recording. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is MnCHOICES office hours for Friday, November the 3rd, 2023. My name is Teresa Vanderbent, and I'm with MnCHOICES Training, and I will be your host for today's call. Here is a list of some of the folks that are on the call. I have one person missing. We have a new staff member, Charlotte, who is joining us today, and I will add her name to the list for our next office hours, so you get to know who she is and who she works for. But welcome, Charlotte. So this session is being recorded. We use WebEx audio for you to listen to this session. You're all muted, and the reason why you're all muted is we don't want all that background noise accidentally going on that you're maybe even not aware that you would have been online. So how we're going to proceed with today. When there are times to ask questions, I'll tell you which system you can ask a question about. You will raise your hand in the queue, and then we will call on you and we will unmute you so that we can have a conversation. As many of you or most of you know, we prefer that you not use the chat at all. Actually, we try not to look at it too much during this call. We want a chance to have a conversation with you because we know the questions you're asking may take some back and forth, and a conversation is useful. I would also like to remind you that I would really prefer you only ask one question at a time. And the reason for that is I need to make sure everyone gets a chance to ask questions. If you have a semi-related question that goes with the first question, I'll allow it, but I really would prefer you not ask a bunch of questions. Otherwise, maybe other people won't get a chance to ask questions that they have to. If they aren't asking questions and you want to jump back in and ask another, of course, you are welcome to. So our office hours call looks at all three applications, the MnCHOICES assessment, the support plan, and the revised MnCHOICES application. We will first let you ask questions about the first two systems, the assessment and the support plan system. We'll go through a few slides and then we'll talk about the revised MnCHOICES application. So please keep your questions on task for the applications that specifically we're talking about. And then also the other piece that I wanted to make sure that I said to you is if you have a question that has went on a help desk form, please do not ask it here this morning. And the reason for that is those help desk requests take a little more conversation between policy. If we haven't answered you back, it's because there's a conversation going on and we won't be any more ready to do it on the phone than we would have been on the ticket. So please just wait for the ticket response so that you're aware of that as well. And then lastly, I wanted to say we're excited about being here today. We see our role as helping you be able to ask questions and solve problems. And so we really are here with each other with best intentions in mind. So here's my agenda: general updates, help desk updates, your chance to ask MnCHOICES assessment and support plan system questions. Then I'm going to do a few revised MnCHOICES slides, not many, 4 maybe, 5, and then we'll go to overall questions. So we are working to leave you plenty of time to ask your questions. So we always have general updates on the agenda. I have none. And so I'm going to move to the next topic matter, and the next topic matter is help desk update. And Wilson, can you unmute yourself? Or Beth, can you unmute him?
Hello?
I see you're unmuted. Go for it, Wilson.
Hey everyone, just making sure you guys can hear me.
We can.
Okay, cool. So for revision, I'm gonna just split it between revision and legacy. For revision, we are aware of person merge requests, updating PMIs. We are currently working on a process to merge the duplicate persons. However, at the time, we don't have a date when that will be available. So at this time, we are advising that users create their form in the profile that contains the health insurance information. And also when submitting these tickets to the help desk, if needed, to include the old person ID and the new person ID, just so we have that. We are keeping track of profiles that need to be merged for the future. Okay, going forward, We received a couple tickets about the reassign button. This is a known issue that we are aware of, that we are currently working on. The workaround at this moment is to select open record from the ellipses of the active assessor and then change the status to unassigned. Then select new staff assignment to assign a new staff. So that is the workaround for the reassign button.
Hang on a second, Wilson.
Yep.
Is anyone else hearing Wilson's audio cutting out, or is it just my reception?
It sounds good on my end.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going. It's me.
Okay. We have received a few reopen requests in the revision tool. Just at this moment, we need these revision requests are being handled by the policy queue. So when marking these in the contact form, mark them for policy in the revision tool instead of technical. That's for the reopen request in the revision tool. Import person tickets. FEI is still investigating issues with some PMIs not being able to import. In the meantime, send those PMIs to the technical help desk and we will import them for you. We have also received quite a few numbers of tickets for incorrect scoring. These tickets need to be marked for policy instead of technical. We receive a lot about, I believe, ADL scoring or just scoring in general that's not accurate or any different from the 1.0 legacy tool. So just mark those for policy going forward. And that is everything that I have for revision. For legacy, just a reminder to explicitly state if you're submitting a ticket or submitting an email outside of the contact form, if this issue is in legacy or revision, just to save some time. Sometimes we'll receive a ticket and we're unsure of which application it is. So just so that everyone's on board, just explicitly state that it is for legacy or the revision tool. Aside from that, we are receiving some support plan password resets. Just a reminder to everybody that these tickets are not handled by the help desk. A password reset request for the legacy support plan needs to be handled by your security liaison. And that is it for the legacy application. So that is what I have for revision and legacy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Wilson. So I'm going to have Wilson put himself back on mute, and we will go on. If for some reason we need to go back and cover any of what he said, you can request clarification, and we can have him go back off mute and answer questions that you might have. As you could hear, a bunch of his pieces were about making sure you pick the right, on your help desk form, that you pick policy and not technical for reopens, that you, if you're wanting to report incorrect scoring, you pick policy and not technical, and that you make sure that when you put in your help desk form that you specifically note which application you're speaking to.
Teresa, you are breaking up.
Yep, so it is on my side. So let's take questions.
Yeah. Okay, our first question is from Bethany McCann. Bethany, you had your hand up for a little while, so we'll make sure, we'll just double check to make sure that you intended to have your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we are wondering what the advisement is for a person who cannot complete electronic signature or a paper signature due to a physical inability to sign.
So you're asking about, so someone who is their own representative and doesn't have the physical ability to sign, do they have a stamp or a mark that they use for their signature?
They do not.
Okay, that might be something to investigate further. And Victoria, jump in. That would be great. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. This is Victoria. Technically, they really only have to sign with an X, or like what Beth said, having a signature stamp would help. I do know we get several questions about the Topaz signature pad. Those are compatible, but you have to print to a PDF, and then you need to work with your county IT department on syncing your Topaz signature pad to the PDF. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, Bethany, thank you. Our next question is from Veronica Julian. Oh, sorry, Veronica. Oh, no. Sorry, hang on just a second. Okay, Lauren Costco.
I have a question in regard to goals in the support plan. Is this an appropriate time to ask that?
If it's about the MnCHOICES support plan application, yes. If not, you need to hold it for revised.
I'll hold for revised. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, guys are putting your hands up and taking them down really quickly. I don't think we have any questions going further.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go on. Let me know if I start breaking up again, Beth, okay? And then
Yes,
we'll
I will.
start
Thanks.
revised questions. And I won't spend a ton of time in here, folks. Part of what we want to do today is make sure we have some common knowledge and common way of looking at things. So if items get reported, that we continue to be able to talk about it well together. So I just want to remind people that there will be an outage on November the 20th for the next release to the revised MnCHOICES application. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And this link, the county link page on the mentor page, is an outage schedule. So if you want to see the December and the January ones, you can go look at that as well. So I wanted to do a reminder about attachments because we are pulling reports from attachments currently, and I wanted you to be aware of something that we're seeing so that you could help us remedy it. In the attachments section, you can see that there's a category scrolling drop-down menu. For attachments, we want to make sure that, yeah.
You're breaking up again. I'm not sure what's happening. You've got like squeaks.
Let me see if I can switch to my, if I switch to my laptop, that's going to be a problem as well, I think.
Thanks for your patience, folks. We'll get it figured out.
So let me try it again. I'll go a little slower for pace and see if it's better. Does that improve people's ability to understand?
You're sounding much better.
Okay. So in the Smart Guide under Attachments category, if you have attachments that are about release of information or other privacy-related documents, we would like to remind you to use the release of information category and not the assessment signatures category. And the reason for that is that's the only thing we expect to see there. And if we're pulling data, which we currently are for some reporting that is going on, we're finding extraneous information there. So if you have files that are in that category already, moving them would be great. But more importantly, going forward, please don't put them in with the assessment signatures. Instead, put them in the release of information category, because there you can put all your privacy related documents there where people sign releases of information, and other things can all go in that category in the attachments for a person. The second item I want to talk about is, I feel like health insurance information, if there's an issue going on, because we don't have the same language, it's hard for us to talk about it with each other. And so I'm hoping to improve it, kind of my role as training. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through for a MnCHOICES assessment, what the health information will look like before it loads, after it loads, and then if for some reason the assessor gets to the assessment because it was already created by someone else, how will they know if the health insurance was loaded when the initiate assessment information was done? And the reason for that is because that will help both of us to have a better conversation and to be good problem solvers. So part of what I wanted to do is to set some basic ground rules, which you know, but it just gives us a chance to, again, talk about it in the same way and talk to our users about it in the same way. So if you're in a person record and the health insurance information has this message that says no health insurance record available, you should wait to create an assessment, even in the initiate assessment status, until some health insurance information displays. Again, it doesn't have to be at all, but there has to be at least one line, and this no health insurance record available message needs to be gone. Okay, don't have to wait for all of it to load, just this no health insurance record available must no longer be there. Okay. So what will happen is, let's say, I'm just going to make up a scenario. Someone else created the assessment and in the initiate assessment put some basic information in because maybe they're doing intake. You get assigned to it as an assessor, and you go in and you're doing start to do some work in it, but you aren't able to run eligibility or aren't able to see specific things. What's happening is that the assessment was created before the health insurance was available. And how the heck will you ever know that, right? Like, how will I know that? We thought it would be helpful to give you a screenshot. So what happens is when you're in the MnCHOICES assessment and you've moved it to in progress status, in the program specific requirements, you're going to see under health insurance information that exact same message that I showed you before. No health insurance information records available. If you see that message, then you have to mark the assessment incomplete, double check to make sure the health insurance information is now there, and create a new MnCHOICES assessment. Okay. So why is this occurring? We believe the reason why it's occurring is because someone is initiating the form, so is creating the form prior to the health insurance information being available, or it may, and that also may be because, so let's say if intake person was working on it and that happened, or if you've imported a new person, you've imported them in the system and you created the assessment and you started working on them. Well, if the health insurance information reads like this, you shouldn't be creating an assessment. You really need to wait till the next day for the health insurance load to occur. Say, yep, there it is. I can see it now. This message is gone, and I can go ahead and create an assessment. And again, the reason for these slides is just to help improve our knowledge and our ability to communicate with each other about what we're seeing. So now you can say, hey, the no health insurance records available message wasn't on it. No, it wasn't in my program specific. You know, like you'll be able to give us some more language to help us problem solve. And so again, it's about giving us some standard language to work on together. The other piece that we're hearing you talk about is who prints on the footnote section of the assessment summary is a common question that we get. And the answer to that is the first certified assessor assigned. We did some testing of it and found out that that is indeed the answer. So if you have an assessor that's been assigned isn't going to be working on for a person, you can unassign that previous assessor. That's our best practice for you, and then have you on as the assessor, and that way the who prints on the footnote will be the person who is actually the assessor. So just so that you're aware. And guess what? I am ready, or the team is ready for questions. We just wanted to give you just a bit of that information. I will put myself on mute, Beth, and you can go ahead and call on people.
Okay, our first question is coming from Casey Johnson.
All right, our question today is regarding the new RS plan within revision MnCHOICES support plan. We did note that in the new RS plan section, when you're entering in time for a customized living or adult foster care, there's no longer the option for minutes per day. It's only hours per day, per week, and per month. So we've just been having some internal discussion as well as regional discussion as to whether or not if something were to take 45 minutes, for example, would we put 0.45 or 0.75? And if something were to take 10 minutes, should we be rounding up to 2.25 or calculate the decimal number?
This is Amy. I can answer that question.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do it in 15-minute increments.
Okay.
Just so it'd be either for 15 minutes, it's 0.25, half hour is 0.5, 45 minutes is 0.75, and obviously an hour is 1.
Okay. We'll definitely have to have some discussion with our CL and AFC providers then, as this is a change from completing the previous CL tool. Okay.
I mean, and there's nothing to stop you guys from doing if you want to really get more granular than that. You know, there's ways to there's all kinds of charts and stuff online to figure out minutes if someone's budget is really tight and you want to do minutes, you certainly can do that.
So we can't. Okay, so best practice would be in those quarter of the hour increments, like 0.25 or 0.5. However, if need be, we would be okay.
Yeah, you can do it the other way. I mean, it's up to you how much work you want to put into that.
Right. Well, I guess it's ultimately it's really going to impact that the rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
always rounding up is not necessarily
Yeah.
the best practice for us either. We want to make sure it's as accurate as possible. So yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Marlo.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yep.
Okay. I have a question about ADL support time. The question about increased time for physical assistance with ADLs. I guess we're wondering. I'm wondering if that is really about the other congenital or acquired diseases for PCA for extra time. Would that be correct?
Oh goodness, I think I have a question that I'm answering for you about this right now that you sent into the help desk.
I did, and we received an answer, but I guess I'm doing a follow-up with you about this because I'm wondering if we should be looking at it differently. Does that make sense?
Probably be better. It does, but I think that I'd prefer that you just respond to the email that we sent back and give us time to take a look at that. That would be very helpful.
So ask you our follow-up question through the email?
With that, yes, in that same loop. In that same loop, it's related to that. So it would be better to have that context and to be able to see that.
Okay.
So I'd appreciate that.
Thank
you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Molly Hodge.
The health insurance not available. So if we have an initial assessment, brand new person who's not on MA, maybe even hasn't turned in the application yet, how do we proceed doing that assessment? Because it won't load the next day if they don't have anything submitted. Is that right?
So it will load whatever Swindex has. So whatever Swindex has, it'll load, even if it says unknown. See here, it says unknown. That's part of why I wanted to get these screenshots up, right? To like help everyone. Even if it reports unknown, it's just fine because now you can go into your assessment and edit the status when the MA or Medicare or something changes. So as long as it has some fields filled out, even if the answer is unknown, it's good to go. It's just that if it has no record at all, then you can't work in your assessment and run eligibility. But more importantly, because it doesn't have any health insurance information, you can't edit the fields. So until you see some information in here, that's why you hear us say some information. Even if it's some, you can edit fields in the assessment. But if it says no health insurance record available, then there is no ability to edit the fields in the assessment. So you can't update it manually yourself because you know things have changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next question is Veronica Julian. Oh,
Okay.
hi, Veronica.
Hi. I think so. I had to wait to get to the right section to ask my questions. So on the care plan in the revised MnCHOICES, is there, and we looked as a group, where do we check if the person does not want to share their plan at all? With anyone?
I believe that's on the signature page of the support plan. But Deborah Sue, because this is regarding is it regarding an HRA specifically? You're calling it a care plan, but I'm just curious. Is it HRA or was it like the? Are you speaking for elderly waiver?
Yeah, like elderly waiver. If they have homemaker and they're like, no, I don't want to share my plan, or CL tool gets sent to the provider and they're like, well, then they don't need my plan because they have the tool. Where do we check that they don't want to share their plan?
I think this is Sue. Don't you check who they want to share it with? And if you just don't click anybody, then
Will
they're
that
not
pass
sharing with
audit?
you.
Is that the assumption, is if we don't pick anybody, then they're not
You're not
sharing
sharing
them?
it because they have to say who they want it to be shared with.
Okay,
I
we're just
believe. Yeah,
checking because
we're working through some of that audit protocol. We'll consider that, but I believe
okay,
that's how MnCHOICES is set up, is that it's who do you want it shared with?
okay.
I
No,
believe. Somebody correct me on the MnCHOICES side with that, but I believe that they indicate who they want it shared with.
This is Amy. I just wanted to, you brought up the EW tool. That is something that by statute that the provider has to have, the
yep. So
CL
we
provider.
so we
Yeah.
let our clients know that yes, we will be sending the CL tool to the provider. And so sometimes they're like, well, then they don't need my plan. They have the tool. They know what they're being paid for. So that was just an example. We send that. So then they're like, no, they don't need my whole plan.
How
So
would the customized living then know what kind of goals that the person's working on though? Without a support plan.
the person doesn't feel like sharing their goals with the customized living. I don't.
That's true, and I think it is the person's option to share if they want that shared with any provider.
Mhm. So then also on that note, CDCS, we don't have a signature page for CDCS, correct? Like they don't get a provider signature page. They're exempt from that, correct?
For well, you're doing a support plan, right? For CDCS, you do a support plan, and then they're doing their TSP for CDCS
Right.
or CDCS TSP. Lots of acronyms there, right? And that's different. So you can still collect that information. You're still getting a signature on your support plan.
Okay. Just because that has come up in audit, why haven't we sent the provider the support plan? And we're like, we don't have to. It's CDCS. So just not sure if that will be addressed in the new MnCHOICES or if that's out there somewhere that CDCS is exempt from getting a provider signature.
Again, maybe that's something that Deb and Sue can write down as part of the updates for MCO audit protocol. Is that part of, is that in specifically what you're speaking to when you say it doesn't pass audit?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for the
You know,
clarification.
In the CDSM, there's a FAQ about provider signatures. And I haven't gone there in a long time. Yeah, there's still an FAQ here. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, yeah, but it does talk about CDCS. So
Okay.
You'll have it in writing right there.
Perfect. Thank you. And the
You're
last
welcome.
question on care plan was if we do the CL tool in the non-24 hour, because 24-hour doesn't work, and then we go to update it or the 24-hour pick starts to work, will the non-24-hour information pull over?
So Amy, I'm assuming this is about the EWRS tool
Yeah.
specifically.
I just want to clarify. So you're saying, yeah, we know that people have to do the non 24-hour rate or the support. Oh my God, the service. There we go. And so you're saying once the 24-hour the defect is fixed, are you saying that you would want to do another, like to do the other one under 24-hour and will it pull over? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, we're just asking, like, so if it does get fixed and then in 6 months we have to redo the tool because things have changed, we'll obviously need to pick the 24-hour because it now works, hypothetically, hopefully.
Yeah.
Will the non-24-hour information pull over or will we have to re-input everything?
Well, so in the revision system, once you get a rate, you know, and you save it, you can't edit that anymore. I mean, it's done with. So what'll happen is when you need a new rate, you're going to have to start a new tool, but all of the assessment information will come over.
Perfect.
And then
that's what we wanted to know.
Yeah, then you can just you know, you can choose the other service.
Okay,
choose 24-hour instead.
All right. And then, okay, since we're only allowed to ask a couple questions, I'll put my hand down and ask the rest later.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is from Eric Hansen. Hi, Eric.
Hello. Sorry.
Hi.
My question is about the no insurance information available. Does that apply to the MCO HRA too?
Well, your HRA isn't determining eligibility, right? It's just, it wouldn't necessarily apply because you're not determining eligibility for programs. Whereas for waivers, you need to be eligible for medical assistance or be able to update it in the assessment. And so you need to have this health insurance present in order to show any eligibility for waivers. You can run eligibility, you just can't, it won't show you eligible for anything because you're not on MA. So for HRAs, that's not, you don't have that same requirement for eligibility. Definitely jump in.
That's what I need to know. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, Christine Chartier. Oh, Christine took her hand out. Lenny Magnuson.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So my question is about other people being able to access the assessment. So when someone calls me and has a concern about ADL figuring out or whatever, I can go into their assessment and make changes. And I'm just wondering, I guess that's not comfortable for me. Like the past assessment, we couldn't go in and just go into anybody's assessment. My second thing is that if there's a question that's being asked on this and you guys have a ticket in and you've been working with the county, it would be nice if all of us could know the answer. Otherwise, we'll just have to send in multiple tickets to get clarification. like on the
So-
ADL extra time thing?
So Beth, I will answer the first question. So Lane, if you go to the Help Center and grab the Smart Guide roles and permissions, it will show who can make changes to the assessment. The reason why you can is because you're a lead agency supervisor. Because of that role, you have more permissions, so you can go look at that and see what they are. Not everyone will have that role or have those permissions. So, for example, case manager can only view and not make changes. So the system really does limit to certified assessors and their supervisors, just so that you're aware of that.
Yeah, I don't believe I'm listed as a supervisor.
Well, if I were you, I would have you go check that. That should be the only reason why you can do that. If I'm incorrect and that you don't have that role, and you can still do it, you're welcome to put in a help desk ticket, choose
Teresa,
other, and
Amy,
choose.
Teresa,
Go ahead.
Amy can jump in here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Teresa, that we are actually aware that the system is functioning in that manner where you can make, you can go into an assessment and are able to make changes. So at this point, so it's something that we're aware of, and I think working with the vendor on for a future release is my understanding. I don't know that for sure, but we are aware of it, and we're kind of just operating under our normal HIPAA guidelines where like you're not accessing another assessment unless you have a reason to, and that you're not, going in there and making changes unless you have authorization or a reason to do that. And so we are aware of it. If you have further questions about it, you can definitely submit a help desk form on it, or if you want more information, but I just wanted to mention that, yeah, it is something we're aware of, and that's just how their system at this point operates. So yeah, just wanted to mention that, but let us know if you have further questions about it.
And then Lane, on the second question, we're having a conversation across policy teams about posting answers to those types of questions into Policy Quest. So that's in conversation right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. But we heard you guys and that concern last time, so we're talking about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question is from Heather S.
PCA related question about toileting. So we have a large Somali population that uses poured water to clean themselves. And we're wondering how we would code that in the new system. If they only need help with pouring the water, would that be intermittent physical assistance? Historically, I would put it as set up in prep because they're not physically touching the individual. But others on my team would have put limited physical assistance because they wouldn't be able to complete the task in a culturally appropriate manner without the assistance. So we're just kind of wondering in revision how we could code that, or should.
If they need physical assistance to complete the task, you would indicate that they need physical assistance in the assessment.
So pouring of the water, even if they're not touching the person, is physical assistance.
Well, they need that assistance to do the task, correct?
Yes.
And so, I mean, if that's finishing the task of doing that, they need another person. And that's physical assistance.
Okay.
Okay, our next question is Ashley Siegfried.
So when we're trying to get a hold of the resident to schedule the assessment, and we called multiple times, but we didn't get a call back to schedule an assessment, what form do we send out to notify the person that we're closing the case?
You send out the DHS 2828B, the support planning one that you're closing.
But I thought that's only being used for the current tool, not the revised MnCHOICES tool.
No, it's used for the revised MnCHOICES tool too. You use that for support planning. That form isn't in, well, it's built into the assessment for the 2828A is built into the assessment. The 2828B is not yet built into the support plan, but that you still use that for changes with support plan that result in a reduction, termination, or denial.
Oh, okay. And that's also if someone declined an assessment, we send the 2828A.
if they decline an assessment, you'd send the 2828B. Because you didn't complete the assessment, the 2820, but the one notice of action at assessment. How about that? I will stop using numbers. The
Okay.
notice of action at assessment is given with an assessment, but you didn't complete an assessment, so you would do the notice of action that's provided with the support plan.
Okay, because I was under the impression that we no longer use the notice of action in the revised MnCHOICES when we're accessing the revised MnCHOICES tool for assessment.
You don't have to use the 2828A because you're going to be sending out the assessment summary from the revised MnCHOICES, but you still need to fill out the B that's related to support planning.
Right, but then in assessment though, in assessment, when we're trying to get a hold of them, that's part of the assessment. So the 2828 is part of the assessment. And we can't send that out because it's embedded in the revised MnCHOICES. So
You're trying to do an assessment, but the action that you're taking is closing the waiver. You know what I mean? Like you're not you're gonna close the waiver, and so that's the notice. That's the decision that you're making that you need to provide notice on. That's the decision. So that is done on the support plan notice of action form, the DHS 2828B.
But we're not closing the waiver. We haven't done the assessment.
Well, you will close the waiver because you can't do an assessment, correct?
Okay. Because because right now the practice is that the assessor is completing the 2828A when we completed the assessment, and then the case manager is completing the 2828B when they completed the support plan. But what you're suggesting is that for the revised MnCHOICES, if you can't get a hold of the person or they decline the assessment, we use the 2828B to let them know that we're moving forward and closing the waiver or closing the assessment.
You're closing the waiver and you're abandoning your assessment, discarding your assessment. Yep, marking your assessment incomplete in the revision.
So Beth, I was putting up the CBSM page with the LTSS forms and noted that used with MnCHOICES includes the 2828B.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, our next question is from Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Of questions. So my first question will be the title prints are not showing up correctly. So when we have a person who we assess, we will be using customized living. And we are going to send a quote unquote customized living tool out of the revised MnCHOICES to a provider if they like not to send their whole care plan or support plan, I should say. What title should that document be that we should be selecting to send to the customized living provider?
So your point being from the print options and support plan, is that what you're saying?
Right.
From here.
This is Amy. So what you would do is it would be under services that support me. When you do the print support plan, it has the drop down options. You can either print the whole support plan or just the, just different services. So you go in there and then you would just use the drop down and for services that support me and then find which provider.
Yeah. So what she's talking about is when you pick the print here, you can do preview and then it'll let you pick the parameters. It'll let you pick which ones you want to choose.
Mm-hmm. So you have to uncheck everything and then go into services that support me. And then you want to find your
you can find your provider in there. If you had a provider, it would be here.
Yep. And then you just print that.
Right. So when I took a peek at that, as far as if you click back down on the parameters again, it has like the overview and, all these other pieces like person information, the overview, the about plan. would you say that if we only selected just the Supports Me page, if that would have enough information for the
That is
provider?
designed. Yeah, that is designed to have everything that the customized living provider needs
Okay.
to provide to.
And then we've had a lot of questions. Thank you for that. Functional needs updates. So those that are being completed in the revised MnCHOICES, and we know that once everything has been retired for legacy documents, the functional needs update will replace the activity type 10. For right now, because we're in both worlds still, if we are doing a functional needs update, what is the requirement or expectation for the screening document into MMIS? Is it still the activity type 10? Are the scores matching? So if we were to enter that as an activity type 10, it would be okay, or just looking for some specific details. And I know we've gotten a lot of questions from multiple delegates on that.
You're able to, nothing is really changing with the functional needs update other than you'll be able to do it within the system, within the or that you are able to do it within the revised choices. So you still enter that document into MMIS to make the changes that you need and update the system, or you update both systems. But if you're doing it on paper using the legacy document as you were before, you still would do it. You would still do the same thing.
So it's basically just activity type 10 for either way, is what I'm hearing you say. Perfect. Yes. Thank you. I just have two more questions. Yes.
Nope. I need to have you put your hand down and get in line again because I need other people to be able to ask questions.
All right.
Hey, Teresa, I just wanted, this is Amy again. I wanted to just quick say something. I need to double back and change my answer about the different fractions of the hours. I did want to say that in the practice guide, there is a breakdown of all the different decimals for the minutes, right in the practice guide.
So in the support plan practice guide in the help center, they can find the fractions in there. Thank you.
Yep, there's a chart in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Okay, Jessica Mickelson.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
All right, this was previously just kind of touched on. I just wanted to follow up with additional question. So when we close a support plan, you know, you've calculated your rate and saved it. Is it a possibility that these managers just leave that open? Because we often have to go in throughout the year to make adjustments, or is best practice to close it when we're done? I guess we've had some case managers who have already had to make edits and just having to complete the entire support plan again. So they asked if they can just leave it open until we have to do the person's next assessment.
So Jessica, are they using Revise?
Yes, yep. I'm talking about in the revised support plan system.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh.
If they were to close the support plan, once they close it, they can use Revise to open the support plan back up and make changes to it. Are they following that practice?
I don't know. I'd have to, probably not.
Okay. So not me, someone at support plan policy talk about expectation about when a support plan is done and the status it should be in. I can answer it because I know what your answer will be, but I'm not a policy person.
Well, I'm not sure if Victoria wants to hop in, but our expectation is that it's closed when you're done with it. It should be a plan at a point in time, and then you do have functionality to revise. It is called Revise your support plan, and that's where we were talking in webinars a while ago about filtering out support plans, and then you use the ellipses to find the revise function, and then you're able to create a copy of your plan. For a copy of the plan with its plan dates, and then you're able to do your plan from any changes that you might need to make and save that plan.
Does anyone have a sample plan? I'd be happy to show it. All mine are open or discarded, so I don't have anything off the top of my head. If you need to see it visually, but what you hear Beth talking about, I'll just kind of show you the idea of it. Go ahead.
I can show Teresa if you want, or you can grab
You
Pippin.
want to give me your person, please?
Yeah, you can grab Pippin.
Okay. Will do. This one, forms. So what Beth was talking about is you go up here to this little stack piece of paper, and you click it and you choose support plan. It's going to show you, oh, you have one in progress and not closed either. If this were in the status of closed, when you click on this ellipsis, your choice would be revise, and you could revise it, open it back up, make changes to it, and then close it again. So
Okay,
that's what we're
perfect.
speaking to.
I knew that there was I knew you'd gone through it once. I just couldn't remember it. for
Yeah,
sure.
no, we totally get it. That right? Till you need it, you don't remember it. Yep.
Right. Thank you.
And just to reiterate, the most important step there is that filter. The only way you're going to see revised is to use your little filter button and go to support plans.
Yep. This one right here. And again, I believe that's also in the practice guide. So go ahead, Beth.
Oh, Erin Prees. I'm sorry if I'm not getting your last name correct.
Ooh, I have a question, just kind of a follow-up. I think from the last meeting, there's still issues with MPIs and people and providers not having information. And we've been redirecting providers to call or to, connect with, but providers keep saying they don't know who to connect. They don't know the questions to ask, and they still haven't figured stuff out. Do you have any suggestions as to what to do next?
So
because the providers have gone to MPSE and they have gone to, and according to them, everything's correct, but they don't know who to actually connect with.
Okay. So, and you've given them the communication that we gave you after office hours with the information on it?
I asked folks in here if they got that communication, and people didn't seem to get it. So maybe we need to have that resent out, or where to find the communication.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. I was going to see if I could.
Your email is at, oh. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to see if I can find I'm just going through my communications list. I'll paste it in the chat.
That would be great. Thank you. Because yeah, I think from the call it said to go to MPSE, but when I said that, providers need deeper information than just that, because they are getting stuck on logging into their portal and they say it looks right. I think it needs to be, because they're not having correct, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the word, but they're still having issues.
Is there anything else that anyone would want to add to that? Is there anything more besides that communication that we want to speak to?
Hi, Teresa. This is Mary. Just as a little bit of additional information, what is being told to the providers is currently correct. They do need to go to MPSE and look at their records, and we are, to be clear, we are in communication. We're having some conversations with the staff that do MPSE to understand what's potentially going on and why there are some issues. So just more to come on that, and we are having a meeting with them, and hopefully we will be able to alleviate or identify some of these problems, and MPSE staff will be able to perhaps move this forward in a more quickly manner. But yes, what you have as information is going forward is correct until we have other information to add to it.
Okay. Is there because I think it's like they're missing, their specialty codes are not correct. So that it's just, I don't even think they sent me screenshots of what they're looking at, and that's not even, it doesn't look like they can even see that from what they're checking. So.
And that we may need to add some more information going forward, correct?
Okay.
But we want to be able to give that information to everyone, so.
All right, great. Thanks.
And so, I'm adding it in pieces because, believe it or not, I can't add it all at the same time. And so what you might see happen is if people are putting questions into the chat, it's gonna make it so you only see part of it. And then you have to go look for the next part. So just so you're aware. I can't paste it all in at one time. So we'll think about what does that mean.
Okay, our next question is from Ashley Bolson.
This is a question for Wilson, or maybe more of just a follow-up. I sent in a ticket about a person we were trying to import, and I couldn't get them to import. And so he was working on getting them imported, which I got an email response that they were. However, I go back into the revised MnCHOICES and they're not there when I search, and I do the add person and I get to step 3 and then it says I have to import them again. And so I just wanted to follow up that they're not imported, and I haven't had any issues with any other people, but this one specifically I cannot get imported.
So will you submit it back in as a help desk ticket and put technical on it and let him know that and just put in it that you've worked to import this person, you've confirmed, even back to the email that he said, hey, it's done, so that you could say, nope, it's still not working, so he has it. And then Wilson's got his hand up. Beth, if you want to unmute him.
He's unmuted.
Yeah, I believe I saw the response there. I'm working with the database admin about it because I had asked him about it because I got a response that it wasn't there. I have to check back in with that reply, but I still have it in our queue. Is one of our
Great.
replies.
That's fine. I just wanted to follow up that it's not resolved and I still can't assign or do anything with them. So thank you.
Please remember, folks, if you have CRM tickets in and you've responded back and said, hey, it's not working, I would really prefer we spend this time asking new questions and not ones, even if they are follow up on your CRMs. So please go ahead, Beth, and take the next question.
Okay, Annie Brown.
I'm reading through the chat. Teresa, do you know how that information was originally sent out about
it was sent. Yeah, I'll actually bring the message up so you can see it.
Okay,
so
I think we missed that as well, and
so there was a message that was sent out, let me see, on 10/16/2023 at 11 a.m. if everybody wants to write that down. And it'll say office hours highlights on it, and then you can see number 4 includes providers. We tried to put it closer to the top, right, so that you could find it and not miss it. But that's the date, Monday, 10/16, 11 a.m.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. That wasn't my question though. That was just trying to find where that information was. But I'm just wondering, back to the health insurance information record, when that's not available, if you have to do an assessment that day and the health insurance record is not available, what is the proper process for that?
If you have to do the assessment, you can do the assessment, but what you'll end up doing is marking that assessment incomplete and copying that content into a new document once the health insurance shows.
And then how does the date show up accurately then as to the actual date the assessment was done?
You're able to change the date.
Okay.
When you initiate your assessment, you can say that
okay, great.
Thank you for the day that you initiate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Judy Wolbach. Julie?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, just fine.
Okay. My question is about PCA and the responsible party. In the old system, there was this place to enter the name of the responsible party. Is there a place to do that in revision?
Yes, it's in the support plan. Under, if you're entering the services CFSS, or not CFSS, sorry, if you're entering PCA, a service associated with CFSS, it'll show up in that CFSS section under services that support me. So if I said that too fast, let me slow down and do it one more time. So in the support plan under the CFSS section, it shows after you've added the services that support me, there's a section in there that you're going to add the responsible party for PCA. And so you'll want to make sure that it doesn't have to be done before you create your support plan, but that your person profile is updated with that representative payee information, and you can pull that right in.
And so where is it listed in the profile section? There's not really a spot for it. There's not in the drop down.
So are you thinking here is what you're talking about, Beth? So sorry, I want to make sure. Okay.
No, it's under services and support me, but I don't have PCA for this person.
Right. But
How about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just look really quick. Sorry, I'm trying to find a plan that has that section.
Is the idea that they would use this service type and then list the person? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, a second field under services that support me shows up when you enter the service of PCA in. So when you enter that service in, and then you'll get another drop down that says CFSS basically, and you'll go into that and you'll enter in the information specifically for responsible party, indicate shared care is there too, diagnosis, you'll pull the diagnosis in as well, is under that section.
And then you mentioned under the profile, entered as a contact, but there's no option for responsible party. Do you list it as an other, or don't you list it in the profile?
You can
in the contact?
enter the actual relationship that the person is, or you can say other. If it's a friend or whatever else, you just say the relationship for that person.
But
okay,
in that
but there's
instance, Beth, right? It won't print.
It does print. The section does print for CFSS.
Okay,
I'm sorry
thank you.
I interrupted. Yep. I apologize.
Oh, no worries, Teresa. Oh, goodness. Okay, thanks, Julie. Francie Pancott. Francie, you're unmuted. Oh, she lowered her hand. Sarah Marshman.
A question about the goals section. We're kind of going back and forth with our team in regards to if we need to attach a goal to every service that the person is receiving. And I know in the system you don't have to, but is DHS requiring it that we attach a goal to every service? And when we're questioning that, we're wondering if we need to for like case management and paraprofessional.
You'll note that section is not required. It's just when it's applicable, you can attach a goal to the service. I don't know, Victoria, if you want to talk a little bit more about that, or if you feel it's covered.
Does it cover it in the practice guide at all?
I think you covered it, Beth.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ann F.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, so my question has to do with the signature page. In the MCO call-in, and I maybe misunderstood this, but I want to clarify that I did or didn't understand this correctly. The signature page that came out the end of September in MnCHOICES for if you can't get the electronic signatures out in the field or in the offline mode. What I heard at our MCO call-in was that was not intended to be used it was only intended to be used for certain circumstances, which I think they reference like if someone isn't going to go on a program or something like that. And I'm just wondering, is that correct, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, I can take that. So the signature sheet that is available within the Help Center the purpose of that is to be able to be used when you're not able to take a support plan offline. Like, let's say you're an assessor, you're assessing for state funded services, you can't have an assessment and a support plan open at the same time, then you can use that signature sheet. In regards to providers, You guys should be, that's why we do not have providers on the signature sheet, because that's not how it was designed. We do want you guys to use the system as it was designed and to print the support plan out and send it to the provider for signatures. Hopefully that answers.
And then, Victoria, the other piece I was thinking about it is when they send it out, then to upload that signature to the support plan, because there's a specific place they can do it in the support plan, correct?
Yes. To keep things a little clearer for when you guys are having your lead agency reviews, it would be advised to upload those signatures within the person's support plan. There's an attachment section within the person's signature versus doing it in the profile.
Yep. So when you select this, right, you can load a person.
Correct. If you do handwritten, yep.
Yep. If you do handwritten, then you can choose the file and load them directly into the support plan.
Yep. Then we'll know which signature goes with which plan.
Okay, so just so I have it correct, so we are it's okay to use that page out in the field to get signatures while we're doing an assessment, but we should not have the provider, obviously there's no spot for a provider to sign on that one, so then we print the out of MnCHOICES and send that with the provider signature. So it's two different documents then, basically, right? Is that am I correct on that? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, our next question is from Beltrami.
Can you hear us okay?
Yep, just great.
Okay, great. We were just wanting to see what you guys thought. We are seeing with the revised tool that there has been some decreases with PCA services, for example. And we're trying to kind of get familiar with the system to see, why is the reason for the decrease. In the current system, it's, we've gotten to be kind of pros at it to kind of see, what has changed and compare it pretty quickly. But one thing we did just kind of want to ask is, I know when we went from the paper tool to MnCHOICES 1.0, we were seeing some decreases in PCA hours simply because it's a new tool. And I just was going to see, are we seeing that this might be a possibility going from 1.0 to 2.0? Or are we just not sure yet? Or we just kind of wanted to get an idea so we can kind of be on the lookout for certain things.
I would just say that if you have a specific question, or you're wondering why something has changed, that we want you to be sending those in to us, and then we can help explain explain the jump between the two and what might be missing, or what what is different. And we're happy to do that. So if you just submit it to us, we'll take a look at take a look at the assessment and see what's different and how we can help explain the difference.
The problem is it's consistently doing it to everybody. Our case mixes are dropping also.
So the issue is the concern is it a defect versus is it a policy change? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, kind of. I wouldn't quite call it a defect, but we're just seeing it across the board. People's PCA hours are dropping. And then the ones, like, I'll have people who have been case mix Bs forever that are now case mix As. So
that we're doing the assessments and seeing, there really hasn't been any changes from last year to this year that we can, give an example of why this might have changed the case mix. Whereas when we went from paper to 1.0, we could sit there all day, and it was simply I wrote into the help desk a few times when that was happening, and it was simply, there is a new tool that we are utilizing, and that's why we are seeing some of these changes. So I didn't know if that was going to happen with 1.0 to 2.0.
Right. Yep.
Right. We will see some of those changes, especially when it comes to behavior. And I can share that, behavior in particular has been just evaluated, and all those policy areas have weighed in on how that should work, and so it's working the way it is a little shift from 1.0, but it's working the way it was intended. And so we just want you to be, yeah.
We understand that. It's just we've already on PCA, we're already getting appeals started because people are mad that their hours have dropped. So
I think too, we just kind of wanted to be sure because, you know, we've had a couple of our people here that have devoted hours and hours to just trying to compare one to the other. And I, you know, it's good to know we can send in a help desk ticket to you guys to try to help us do that too. But we just want to know, you know, that we're going to try to see for the client's sake of why that change has happened, but we also we understand that we can't spend hours upon hours trying to figure it out if it was kind of how the new system is going to play out type of thing. So that's kind of what we just wanted to touch base on.
But if you're having people appeal and you're not sure why it is, and not even having people appeal, but if you're not sure why the person, why the hours have changed, reach out to us and we'll help figure it out or explain. And it shouldn't be just that. Sometimes, yes, there's a difference with the systems with what I just described about behavior. But for hours or case mix changes like that, I think we'd really want to help explain it and just explain the policy behind it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask is what's the best thing? Obviously, you know, you have the standard, what you include in a help desk ticket, but would this be a policy question then when we're doing submitting these help
for
desk
sure would be
tickets?
A policy. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, for sure. That's what Wilson was talking about earlier about incorrect scores. If you feel that something's incorrect, send it to policy and we'll take a look.
Yeah. And then it would just be a matter of saying, you know, this person decreased from this year to this year. I can't figure this out. Could I get some assistance with trying to figure out why this person has decreased when comparing?
Yes. Yep. And make sure to include the person ID. That helps us a lot. Yep. Not having to go back to you to say, hey, what's the person ID? So it'll expedite our answer.
This is Amy. I just want to piggyback on that. Yeah, making sure for the revision you have the person ID, but for the legacy, the plan ID is what you would need. We're going to change. I think we're looking at changing the help desk form to be more clear about that. But you can't search by person ID in legacy. You either need a name or a plan ID.
That's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Katie Pinkert.
Electronic signature as well. So right now it requires a person to have a signature, but a lot of my individuals have a legal representative. So is it okay to have the legal representative sign underneath the person's signature? I can't close it without having a person's signature. So I have it right now where the legal representative is a separate contact and they sign there, but I can't close it without a person's signature.
I'm gonna let Victoria speak to that.
That is a good question. I need a visual. Thank you.
Do you want me to start it from the beginning, Victoria? Yeah. So I just created a signature. I did an e-signature, and it allows you to put relationship, is what I see.
Yes, thank you. That's what they would do. You would have the guardian or legal representative sign, and then you would type in the relationship.
Correct. And that's what I've done, but I can't close it without a person's signature. And typically they don't sign or unable to sign.
This is when you're adding
guardian
signature.
Sign.
Can you go to the actual?
But I can't close the support plan.
Can you go to the
actual? So you have to have the signer type person. Mm-hmm. So this one has to be the first one.
I think we need to have this submitted as a ticket and have our policy review this.
So here, I'm sorry I brought it up. So it does person and then name. So if it wasn't, that's what she's asking. So there's not a place to put legal representative in here unless they did it here or their name and after, right?
Yep.
Like
so
that.
if you can
spot to put legal, there's a spot to put legal rep. and add signatures.
No, but she's saying that she has to have the person's signature to have it show complete on completion requirements, but the person can't sign. So this first one has to be done, is what she's saying, and that's
Well, that's where we're getting to. We'd always want the person to be signing the plan. We'd always want the person to be making their mark, having a stamp, doing something so that they're acknowledging their plan as well, because we're very person-centered in our support planning. We want to make sure that the person has input into that plan as well, even if they have legal rep. And Victoria, I think that's what you would say too.
Yeah,
But
that is exactly what I'm thinking. What I'm saying is, what I'm hearing her say though is, if you don't have a person signature in there, you can't close the plan. And I mean, is this? I mean, I'm just curious. Is this person unable to sign, or what's the deal?
I have a lot of individuals that are unable to sign.
Yeah, if you could submit this as a ticket, I'd like to take this back and just noodle it over with some other policy people. I'd appreciate it.
And to make sure she gets it, make sure you just put it as policy, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Veronica.
Hi again.
Hi.
Okay, so we were wondering here if there is a way to see if a care coordinator or an assessor has an open document. Like it hasn't been closed.
Yep, I hear you. So
Okay.
I've been thinking about this a little bit too, just so you know. What I currently can see is you could do queries. So I went up to the navigation, did queries, did MnCHOICES assessment. Let's just see what it looks like, okay? Let's do. So we're just going to do a couple of different types. And I don't know what we're going to find in MTZ because we all have a bunch of stuff. So let's say you want to see if the assessment is in progress. So you'd have to literally pick which ones of these. If you wanted to see them all, we could pick them all, or we could let's do in progress and approved. Let's just pick those two. Number of days past, location. So in this case, I have to pick DHS case manager, so we're not going to see very much. But you could play with this in your in MTZ for yourselves too, and then you should be able to run a query, and if there are any that meet the requirements, you should be able to see them. But like I said, I'm doing assessments with the case manager role currently, so I'd have to change my context and try it again. But that's how I would have you look at what you can do. I haven't had a ton of time to drill down into it, and because I am not in production with a role that would allow me to see actual data, I am unclear about how much it shows you, but let's try it again, okay? Let's pick that one. Let's pick status, in progress or approved. I'm only going to have this choice for location. So what I can see is the person and the status of the plan and who it was routed to. So
Okay.
I could then sort by routed to see plan status by staff.
Okay. And then we had a suggestion about eligibility update. Is that something you guys can walk us through on another different get together?
So you would like to say more about what you need?
So we have come across someone needing an eligibility update in the revised MnCHOICES and just wanting to know if that's something that DHS can do a walkthrough on to show us how it's done, because we're getting stuck.
And where are you getting stuck?
Well, it's not mine, it's another staff, so I would
No,
have to
I get that.
talk to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Where
I was
they're
just
getting
thinking,
stuck.
yeah, right. We could demo something, but if we don't get to the area that it's stuck, if you could just put in a help desk ticket, put in other, pick other, and then other again, and then it'll come to training, and then you can just put in there We would like a demo of eligibility update at the next office hours, specifically because people are getting stuck here. And then that way we'll make sure we cover it correctly and get you something that's useful to you.
Okay,
Does that
so
make sense?
yes, it does. It looks like they have submitted it to DHS.
Oh,
DHS hasn't responded to the eligibility update. So they were looking at where, because in the legacy, you just click revise or like eligibility update on the first page. Like it's super simple to find. They are not sure where to find it in the revised MnCHOICES to do the eligibility update.
I am assuming that it's in the practice guide for assessment. Is
Okay.
that a fair assumption, folks?
There is information on how to do an eligibility update in the assessment guidance. But I'm wondering how you're getting stuck. And Veronica, can you tell me what county you're from, please?
Blue Earth.
Blue Earth. Okay, thank you.
Let's see what we can find. That's initiate. Let's see. I was just going to see if I could see it in here to show you, but I would just say go in here, open it up and search for it. And then I will also add it to my list for office hours for the next session. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Kelly Deffen.
Insurance issue for MCOs, for HRAs and support plans. Do you, is there a step that what we can do, even though we're not needing the insurance, to make sure that we have the health insurance in those assessments? Or do you suggest us uploading the person and wait the next day to get the HRA and support plan uploaded into their chart?
So I'm wondering, you were going in and out for me during that question. I'm trying to make sure that we're getting you the answer. Can you ask your question again, please?
Oh, yes. We've had some people at our agency get a member assigned to them and they didn't have any health insurance information. And we don't do the MnCHOICE assessments, we're doing the HRA and support plan. But we're wondering what steps we need to take in order to have insurance uploaded, or is it the same process where we would just wait till the next day before doing the document?
So what you heard Beth say earlier is this it only matters for MnCHOICE's assessment. Health risk assessments don't run eligibility, so they aren't required to have health insurance information.
Okay, so just going forward, if someone doesn't have that in the system, we're just gonna move on?
Yep, you can create your health risk assessment and do work. Am I saying that correctly based on what I heard?
You are.
Okay.
This is Sue. I think the question is, will that health insurance information eventually get tied to that HRA? Because it needs to be identified so that the health plans can pull that data out of MnCHOICES.
Correct.
So I can't answer the question off the top of my head. Is for the HRA, can they edit it even though the health insurance information is there? I'd have to go look at it to see. And I don't know, can you answer that question? Or do we need to bring that back and have them submit it in? I just don't know it off the top of my head. I can't speak to it. Seems like they can edit it in the HRA. Yep.
This is Amy. Sorry, my microphone wasn't working. Yeah, I think if it's not loading, I guess the number one thing is if it's not loading in the nightly load, you're not seeing it that first night, just let us know because we'll look into what's happening there. So it should auto-populate in that nightly load, but if for some reason it's not and you're having to wait, please just put in a help desk ticket and let us know so that we can look into why that it didn't load. I think the point that Beth was making before is that the reason we need it to be there for waivers is when you run eligibility. If it's not there, it's not going to show you eligible for any waiver because it requires MA eligibility. Where for the HRA, they have their own requirements around MA, but the eligibility that you run in the system isn't dependent on it. So you can start your assessment and you shouldn't have any issues with that.
Okay, so
And
I'll just
correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah.
Okay, well, I'll instruct us to wait the next day to see if it's uploaded, and if not, we'll send a pending ticket regarding that. But thank you for the clarification.
Thanks, Amy, for jumping in. Other questions? We're at 10:58. We can probably take one more.
Okay, Hillary Sprague.
So we've been entering in some PCA service agreements here at Countryside Public Health, and there's been a few spots that are not necessarily pulling over or aren't available on the new revised application that were in the old support plan, the service agreement tab. So in the new application, there is no spot on the service agreement printout that actually says lives with responsible party, or the fiscal intermediary is also not on that as well. And that's required when we're entering in a PCA service agreement. Wondering
Correct.
about that, if that's something that we just need to manually enter and it's a known issue, or?
It is. So the support plan was designed with CFSS in mind. It was not designed with PCA, and those fields are no longer going to be required with CFSS. And so you would need to manually enter those fields into MMIS if you're for the service of PCA. But once CFSS is launched, you won't encounter that issue anymore. That's just one of the issues that we're waiting until CFSS is in place.
Okay. And then shared care is also populating as a yes in that PCA service agreement, where it's been entered as no in that support plan.
So shared care populates on two different screens. So within the section I was talking about earlier, the CFSS section within the support plan, and it populates on the that's going to test my memory to get the type. Let me just pull it up. So it populates on shared care at the service line level. So on the ASA3 screen, shared care populates, and that's what is specific to what you're answering in the support plan. So if you put no in the support plan, that's the answer there. It will show as blank, not a no. It'll show blank, but it'll show a Y if the person is eligible for shared care at the service line level. Then when you get to the AHC2 screen in MMIS, that information also has a shared service, which it's called shared services, and that will default to a Y. And that is just defaulted to a Y. And that is per home care policy. I'm not going to do a good job describing it, but I just know that per policy that they wanted that to default to a Y. But shared care at the service line level, you can manipulate that.
Okay. And then do we have a timeline on CFSS at all? Anything?
Not that I know of, or not that I can comment on. I'm,
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, folks, we are at the top of the hour, which means we are done with office hours. If you would like to listen to past office hours, our PowerPoints sit in the archive for the DSD web page, and then also included in there, I was going to find that. Yep, right here, the DSD webinar training archive, as well as the recording is there also, and you're welcome to go back and listen to it. But we are at time, so I need to say thank you everyone for your questions, and we will see you in another month. So have a good rest of your Friday, and we will see you in the near future.